Okay, Sarah, Susie, and Andy, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, then let's get started. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is the G-MEO webinar, International Education During a Pandemic, What Study Abroad in China Looks Like in 2021. So we're going to talk a little bit about the study abroad programs in China in general, why we think it's kind of important to maintain an interest in China-US exchange during this time, and how that kind of exchange has changed with the pandemic, and what we can expect, or what we think we can expect in the upcoming year. So first, just a little bit about G-MEO. If you are unfamiliar, we are an international education provider, and we run year-round programs in China. So we have the Chengdu American Center, which operates in Chengdu. Traditionally, we have done study abroad for American students and then some inbound programs, but recently we've changed it up, of course, due to the pandemic. So we've run alternative programs for Chinese international students who are trying to make it back to the US for school, but are still located in China. So they're able to take US courses while they're still there and gain credits towards their major to stay on track. And we also have an upcoming virtual study abroad for American students who maybe don't want to miss out on their study abroad experience, but they can take courses, do cultural activities from home to sort of make up for the experience that they would have had physically. And then we have 3 panelists here today. I have some brief introductions, and I'd also like to ask them to introduce themselves. So first, give it 1 second. We have Andy Guth. Andy is one of our professors who works at the Chengdu American Center. And I have some fun facts here, but Andy, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please? Oh, Andy, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Andy. I have been in Chengdu since 2015. Before that, I lived in Washington, D.C. But I have lived in Asia off and on for about the last 15 years. And once I moved to Chengdu, I kind of fell in love with the city, and I enjoy living here very much, and working for G-MEO and teaching the students.
All right, thank you. Next, sorry, it's a little slow. We have Susie. Susie works at Stevens Institute of Technology. And Susie, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Susie Rashu. I'm the director of the Office of International Programs at Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. I've worked in international education since graduate school, and so long time international educator. My area right now is that I work with both study abroad students, of course, keeping in touch with all of our international partners, whether study abroad providers or international universities. And in addition to that, I'm now also working closely with outreach to our international undergraduate students because of the difficulty of either being isolated in New Jersey off campus or trying to take classes all night long in Asia and other parts of the world. So I'm doing a little bit of both of that right now, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you, Susie. And next we have Sarah, who works as the director at the Chengdu American Center. Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, so hi everyone. This is Sarah from Chengdu, China. So yeah, right now it is our evening, like 10 p.m. So a brief introduction about myself. Like I used to be an English teacher after graduation, but then after a few years, I joined a Japanese company in the field of international trade, and then I joined G-MEO since 2015. Yeah, as Stephanie introduced, our center is many in the field of international education. So if you are interested in studying abroad, especially coming to China, Chengdu for study abroad, yeah, I will be here waiting for you. Okay, yeah, back to you, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
You're
So
welcome.
we're going to keep it under an hour today, but I just have a few discussion points that we're going to go through and hear everybody's view on. So first up, it's a pretty broad question, but I'd like to hear how you all feel about how COVID has affected international education as a whole. Andy, would you mind going first?
Sure. I mean, of course, COVID has affected just about everything in the world, but as difficult it is as it has been to travel domestically, it's been even more difficult internationally. And so it's been tough. We've had many students who Chinese students who got stuck here. I mean, they are students at American universities, but they got stuck here. We had American students who were not able to come here and fully immerse themselves in the culture. So that has unfortunately been one of the side effects of COVID. But hopefully, with the new vaccines coming out, hopefully we're probably in the worst of it right now or in the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll continue to get better worldwide after that.
Okay, thank you. Susie, what about you?
Sure. COVID has, dramatically affected everything in international education, both international students, as Andy just described, as well as study abroad. Certainly disrupted completely our field. But what I want to say is that virtually, there have been a lot of great opportunities that have emerged, and certainly things like COIL, which have been around a long time, but maybe not embraced by as many faculty members as now. And the fact that even today, I mean, we could have done this a few years ago, but we just wouldn't have, right? We wouldn't have done this kind of a thing, and we're doing this today. So there are, through the, the technology, we're able to really, in some cases, have more accessibility for students. I found this past summer that we were able to have some more accessibility for students who either wouldn't have chosen to or simply were unable to ever go abroad, whether it was financial, medical, just personal responsibility, needing to work full time, etc. So, I think that's been, one of the silver linings.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of virtual programs have developed that wouldn't have been otherwise, which is sort of, it's unfortunate that it's out of necessity, but it's really great that people are turning to virtual when they wouldn't have originally. Sarah, what about you?
Oh, okay. So yes, I quite agree with what Susie says. Actually, for me personally, I think COVID-19 somehow could be a drive for people to think differently or think more innovatively somehow. Like what we mentioned, virtual study abroad, try to face the challenges in a positive way or a different way. And including the teaching methods or teaching facilities, how we could teaching platforms, the different way of learning. We have to be innovative somehow or more adaptive to the changes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Next, I want to talk about how COVID has affected students' interest in China. Since I know that at the beginning, there was a lot of controversy because of the virus in Wuhan. And so I want to hear about your guys' experience with maybe the virus being in China, how that affects students' views of China. So how about Susie? Can we hear from you first?
Sure. I think at first, definitely, I had a lot of, a lot of students who were planning to be in Chengdu or in other cities in China in the summer. The bulk of our students go abroad in the summer, as far as our largest numbers. We send about close to 200, previous to the pandemic, we're sending about between 185 and 200 students abroad. And so a lot of my students who were planning to go were like, oh my gosh, what's going on? My parents don't think I should go. These kinds of things were starting to happen. And so, yeah, in the immediate, as you mentioned, as things unfolded in Wuhan and then spread, that was sort of a lot of the concern. Now I think, it's a little bit hard for me to answer this because a lot of students aren't saying that much about, they are coming to some of our events. We have weekly info sessions. They're not talking a lot about specifics, although we do some teasers on Instagram about, where's your dream location that when travel resumes. But I definitely still do have students that are interested in China and very interested to hopefully get there in the future. And so I think that, the interest of students who initially had an interest, they still have an interest. And then other students are sort of, waking up to the idea, or maybe they have some influence of faculty or family members who think it's important for them to go, to be still interested in Asia and China in particular.
Okay, great, thank you. Sarah, are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me, Stephanie?
I can hear you, but I can't see you, but that's okay. So,
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Okay, I can see you now, you're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Actually, to be frank, like our center will having me hosting in foreign students coming to Chengdu for study abroad, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, we haven't had any student from American, like especially foreign students, in 2020, like the whole year. So I haven't got a chance to hear what American students that they really think of coming to study in China. But I do think that, American universities in the education system really values critical thinking. As you mentioned earlier, like if there are controversial opinions about China or about the COVID-19, so why not encouraging students to come and take a look and see for themselves? They will see what the reality, what the truth is like. So yeah, that is my point of view.
Got it, thank you. And then Andy, I know this doesn't really apply to you very much, but if you have anything to add?
Well, I would just like to say for anyone who's in the meeting right now is, I think when this first started, I think there was a lot of fear. I'm talking about a year ago about China. I can tell you, I think that has subsided. I feel very, very safe here in China. It is, I was just talking earlier before the meeting, Chengdu is a city of 20 million people, and we consider it an outbreak here when 3 people get the COVID virus, and that's a city of 20 million. So it is extremely, extremely safe here. And I just hope that people know that. Yeah.
Okay. And this is more going back to pre-COVID times, but what do you think is the appeal of China for American students? Sarah, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think, well, I think there are a lot of things for me personally. I think might be appeal of China for American students. Number one, I guess Panda. Yeah, Panda. I think people would, if mentioning China, people would for sure think of a panda. This is number one. Number two, probably like old history, the culture, or something that is really different from what what American students have in their own culture. So different culture of differences in rich culture and history might be appeal for American students. And yeah, number three, I guess food. Food, all kinds of yummy food. If they love their foodie, probably, yeah, that could be a good appeal. And the fourth one I could think of is affordability. To be frank, I think the living expenses here, it should be kind of very affordable. So yeah, those are the top four coming to my mind that I think might be appeal of China for American students.
Okay, and Andy, what about you?
Well, you know, I think for anybody who is thinking about study abroad, first of all, this will be one of the few opportunities you have in your life to live overseas. Most people don't travel more than a few hundred miles from their hometown in their entire life. And in today's world, people are starting to travel more, but it's completely different going on a vacation for 7 days and then coming back home compared to living somewhere. And it's once you leave college, it's unless you have a job that's international, it's very difficult for you to live overseas. And so I would encourage anybody who is thinking about studying abroad to do it, because it might be the only chance, and it will certainly be one of the few chances that you have to live in a different culture. The second thing that you need to be thinking about is, where is the world going? Where is it heading, right? And this has been happening for decades, but it will continue to happen for decades, certainly throughout my lifetime, most likely throughout all of our lifetimes, as Asia continues to rise. And so if you're going to study abroad, I think it's important to pick a place that is the future, right? And Asia is the future. I'm not saying that nothing else is, but it's a main player, and the rise of Asia is important. And of course, China is the centerpiece of that. And so to be able to come here and learn a different culture, learn a different language, whether your degree is in international relations or global issues or not, just having that opportunity to live overseas is rare. And then being able to do it in China is rare. And then to be able to do it in a city like Chengdu, which is, even the Chinese say this, it is so well balanced of history and modern technology. You know, it has a brand new metro subway system. The transportation is fantastic, yet there's a lot of deep culture here. And so Chengdu, China, overseas, it's something that I think everyone should do. And of course, if your degree is in, you know, international studies or something like that, then of course, having on your resume that you know, lived in China, even if it's not an international, living in China, putting that on your resume shows a type of person. It shows the companies that are going to be hiring that this is somebody who wants to learn different things. And so I just cannot emphasize enough how great of an opportunity it is to be able to live overseas for several months, because you might never have that again. And then to be able to do it in China, and specifically in Chengdu, is just a great opportunity. And I think everyone should take advantage of that.
Thank you. And I just want to say, if anyone wants to contribute in the chat, I see that Megan just did. That's really helpful as well. or if you have anything to share, want to turn your mic on, please just let us know in the chat. It's very helpful. Susie, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Sure. So for my students, so a little bit about my university, it's considered 100% STEM as far as students' majors, even our College of Arts and Letters. The majors that are the three biggest majors are music and technology, visual arts and technology, and science, technology, and society. So, but the rest of the campus, it's all very technical fields. And so for my students, when I got to Stevens and opened the office in 2014, no one was going to China. No one had gone to China that we were aware of anyway. And so, I really started a campaign with several of the deans, and, things changed over the years. And so G-MEO was one of our first partners that we got involved with. And I challenged the students. We have a special, two different scholars programs where students are supported financially to go abroad in the summer and pursue an international opportunity that has to be like on an approved list. So I challenged the students. I said, you're all, a lot of you are saying you want to go to Europe, go into their classrooms and everything. And I said, here, I'm going to tell you right now why you need to go to China. And then I would just lay it out for them. And that's when my first two students signed up for the summer of 2016. And one of them was a computer engineer and the other was a cybersecurity major. And so what I really said is, number one, I talked about, staying competitive as a country. If we want to stay competitive in the United States, we need to know our competitors better. And so therefore, number one on that list should be China as far as, economic competitors. Number two, the balance of the ancient civilization, as Andy and Sarah mentioned, as well as, the latest in modern technology and the latest, the most beautiful subways and, all these kinds of things. There's a tendency to think that we're the ones that have cornered the market on those kinds of things. And students need to be challenged to understand that we haven't cornered the market on all of the modern technology. And the students at Stevens do have the typical student from New Jersey, Long Island. They have they interact with Chinese graduate students, in the hallways and at different kinds of events and things. We have a smaller number of undergraduate Chinese students, but they tend to not socialize together that much. And so, I really challenge them to flip that. And so, understanding more about China through the students on campus, and then if they're, able to study abroad in China as well, where we got them to get more interest, really grew was with G-MEO's course in professional development, including an internship. And so that's where we really started to see a lot of growth. So yeah, that's somebody speaking from as I said, STEM campus.
All right, thank you.
And I just would like to add, those that are into technology, computers. Chengdu is a huge center in China of program. Mainly what they work on are games, and of course the gaming industry is larger than the movie industry and many others combined already. It's also a huge center for cryptocurrency mining. These are some things that are, these are the future, and Chengdu is in the center of that. And so whatever field you're in, you're going to be able to find something that appeals to you. Chengdu is just a really wonderful, wonderful city. And like Sarah said, not to forget, the food here is fantastic.
Agreed. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and can I add a bit more, Stephanie? Actually, when Susie and Andy, they when they were talking, actually, I recalled quite a few very interesting cases, like our real students who have been studying abroad in our center, and what the study abroad experience changed, how they changed their life. one student who is now currently working in Chengdu, still at this moment. Like he was our alumni in spring 2013 or fall 2013. Okay, so before he came to Chengdu for study abroad, actually he was living in a very small town in America. And he mentioned that he had never taken a flight. But you know, after the studying abroad experience, currently every time he meets us, like he would show off his passport, like visa stamps, like about 40 countries he has been to. So this is he is very proud to say that study abroad experience changed his life somehow. Another very good, a very interesting case is like I remember a student from American University who came study abroad in spring 2015. And actually, she had a little bit of financial difficulty, like she could not afford that much tuition. But G-MEO helped her somehow get some scholarship and some other financial support. So she came to Chengdu, study abroad. She also took internship at the Sichuan Social Academy Research Center, as well as the Disability Association. So both the academic research internship experience together with the first-hand internship experience in the Disability Association really helped, like it's kind of life-change experience. When she went back to American University, she was selected as one of the most excellent students, like representing American University to give speech in some really wonderful conferences. Even she was even invited in the White House cocktail for giving a speech. So she wrote a letter back to us, express appreciation, which we really feel it's very, very touching, and it's something we feel very meaningful to do. We feel very proud of her. Yeah, a lot of cases, but yeah, I don't want to waste people's time, so I only mention two. Okay, yeah, back to you, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Moving on to the next question. I want to hear a little bit more about the students that you've had and how you know that studying or interning, we kind of touched on this before, but how studying abroad in China or interning in China can sort of help with your future career or help with your resume getting hired after you graduate. What are the benefits for students when they're thinking about their long-term future? How about we hear from Susie?
Sure. Well, definitely my students tend to get jobs no matter what because of their degrees and the reputation of the university, but they constantly comment about their experiences that they've had in China in terms of number one, helping to prepare them better, especially the course that you teach, as well as you don't just have an internship if you go to the Chengdu Center, but the course that surrounds it is excellent and prepares them for their own personal branding and really helps them, sort of explain themselves more quickly, like they would call it an elevator pitch. So the students are able to quickly stand out from the crowd and get in with an international company if that's their desire because of their experience of studying and especially interning in China in the case of my students. So, and they've done exactly as Andy's mentioned, a lot of work in gaming. They've either been electrical engineers, computer engineers, mechanical engineers. So they've worked in gaming. We had a student who worked in fintech industry, the very first one, I believe, in the G-MEO Center. And he went on to, get an excellent internship back home. and he's graduating early, but he just missed, he needed one course over the January term. So he did a remote course in South Korea because he really wants to specialize in Asia in his work. So in the fintech industry. So those are just a few examples.
Thank you. What about you, Andy?
Did you say me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, you know, when I lived in DC, a lot of my friends worked for the big four consulting firms, Deloitte, PwC, Booz Allen, and similar things. And many of them, not all of them, but some of them worked in HR. They told me that in today's world, the number one thing that they look at are internships. I would encourage every student to intern every summer. The more you have, the better. And certainly if you have an international internship, it looks fantastic on your resume. You know, fintech, of course, is just fantastic. I mean, it really is amazing. But basically, being able to come here and get an international internship, there's nothing that really looks better on your resume, because there's going to be a lot of students that have 3.8s and above. And when you go to the top firms, that's just going to be, you're going to be 1 out of 100 that have that, and they're only going to be hiring 2. And so they're going to be starting looking at other things. And somebody who has an international internship or multiple those is definitely going to stand out over somebody who doesn't.
Right, definitely. And then Sarah, I can't see you again, but maybe I'll be able to hear you. There you are.
Okay, so can you hear me now? Okay, cool. Actually, yeah, I totally agree with what Andy mentioned just now. You know, like our center, we are looking for interns every semester. We hire interns, and we really value if the candidate has the internship experience in a specific field that we are looking for. Yeah, that really matters. And regarding the how studying or entering China help students' future career, like I would like to say it definitely help with building your global competency, especially like your cross-cultural communication skills. Like if an American student who has an experience in working in China, no matter it is like work internship in China for in on-site or virtual, you got an opportunity to working with the Chinese people, like in the Chinese environment. So you got to know like how Chinese people or how people from different culture they work, and what's the what is the different people's they views, the different culture background, those kind of things that really helps with your future career. Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Sarah.
you know, if I could just add, you know, what Sarah was just saying, this is why international internships are so sought after by companies when they're looking at resumes from students who are just coming out of school, because their companies are most likely going to be companies that are made up of international people, even if it's in the United States. And so if you are used to working with in a multicultural team, that is something that they want to know, and they want to know that you already have experience doing that, and that you enjoyed it. And certainly when it comes to China, as China continues to grow, there's going to be more and more companies, more and more Chinese moving all around the world, and having that connection with them is going to be very helpful for anybody who has done that before. But there are a few things that teach you about a culture than actually working on a team together with somebody from a different culture.
I agree. And I definitely think that even personally, studying abroad in China can definitely affect your future. As like when I was in college, I studied abroad in China, and now I'm working with G-MEO. So clearly it can really make an impact. Being able to go to China or even do like a virtual option, that kind of interaction and that kind of international experience, I think can really make a difference. And I can say firsthand. Okay, and then next, this is more for if there are students listening or students who watch later. I'd like to hear your opinions on like what advice would you give to students who are interested in pursuing a career involving international exchange. I know we talked about, like, of course, study abroad, intern abroad, but do you have any other advice for students who would want to have a career involving China or some sort of international exchange? How about Sarah, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, can you
hear
start us
me?
off? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So the advice I would like to give is firstly, keep your passion for this. This is definitely right. And but to be specific, I think due to the pandemic, probably you could not come like to China in person for doing internship or studying abroad. But if you are interested in like pursuing a career or anything involving China or international exchange, I would say virtual internship might be a good option. And also, if you got a chance, you learn like try your best to learn Chinese a little bit. That also helps. And
Sarah, are you there? Sarah is frozen on my screen.
Okay. Yeah, so we just had a question I saw. Sabrina asked, do you have an estimate as to when you think students might be able to travel to China again?
For me?
I don't know. I know that either I would guess that maybe Stephanie or Sarah would be best at being able to answer that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because, like we were saying, China is relatively safe now. Andy, you feel safe on a daily basis just living your life, which is a lot different from how we feel in the US right now. And I think the travel restrictions, of course, are still in place, but it really depends on, I guess, how the year goes with the vaccine rollout and with the people continuing to wear masks and take precautions. So we are hoping for summer. We are continuing, of course, like I mentioned, spring is virtual, but for the summer, we plan on having on-site and virtual programs. So optimistically, we'd like to believe that by summer, students would be able to, but it really depends on the travel restrictions. And right now for fall, we're also planning for on-site.
And, the current administration had made estimates that they thought somewhere between June and August would be where we kind of hit the spot where everyone, or we hit a certain percentage of vaccinated people. So yeah, with that number in mind, I would definitely start planning to come to China. That way everything gets set up, whether it be summer or whether it be spring. At least all the paperwork is done, and then we just have to put it in motion when it's done.
Right, and I know I see Julie just asked what are the current travel limitations on the China side for U.S. citizens. Sarah, are you here again? I see you, but you're on mute.
Well, so if you're a U.S. citizen, you cannot come into China at this point. I mean, only only people with special work visas can be here. The reason I'm here is because I was here at the beginning of the pandemic. I never left, but at this particular point, Americans cannot come into China. But frankly, because America has been hit so hard, that might not change for a while. But I think it will change once the vaccination. Now nobody knows the future, but my guess is that it will slowly but surely start to become okay to travel to China as long as you have been vaccinated. And as long as you can show that you've been vaccinated, then they'll probably start to open the doors first for those individuals. So my guess is, again, we're hoping for summer, and if not, then spring. But my guess is once you have your vaccination and China knows that, they're going to start opening their doors to more and more people that are vaccinated and can show that.
Right, it's really hard for us to tell at the moment, but we're really hoping as the year goes on that we can start sending American students to China again.
But I really do think it's important that people not wait until China says we're open for business. I think it's important to get all the paperwork done ahead of time, so that way when the doors open, you're ready, and then that way you can come.
Yeah, we can treat it like we expect it to go that way, and then if it doesn't, we'll just see how it goes. But for now, we're hoping for summer, planning on fall. And in the meantime, again, with the we are still running our virtual programs. Our spring virtual study abroad has courses and a part-time internship. And then, like I said, summer we can do full-time internships or virtual courses. So especially for students who, they planned on going last year, but then the pandemic, they might have missed their opportunity to physically go. And so this is a good time, if you don't want to wait to see how the travel restrictions go, we do still offer our virtual programs for those students. And I'm not sure if Sarah is back or not, but to keep things moving along in the interest of time, Lucy, could you talk about a little bit of advice that you would have for students who are interested in pursuing a career in international exchange?
Sure. What I would recommend, I think others have already touched on, but basically starting with language is great. I was really pleased when Stevens added Chinese as one of their language courses. You only can take like 2 semesters, but there was no option. There were no languages at all prior to 2014. French, Spanish began then, and now adding in, Mandarin as well. So languages are a great way to get started. And then I would also recommend at the moment in the short term, because of the travel issues, to have a virtual internship. And that way getting some experience. And if you don't, as a student, if you're a student listening to this recording, if you do not, you can't find any, then, create one. Just volunteer, contact the various organizations like G-MEO and others that are operating in China in international education and exchange, and see if you could do an internship by, volunteering to help out and tell them all your wonderful qualities and experience, and see if you could do it that way in the meantime. But definitely don't lose heart, and don't say, oh, well, I'll never be able to do anything with China now because of everything that's happened. So stay active, stay involved, and follow your passions. That's my advice.
Thank you. And Andy, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would just say, of course, we're still going through the COVID, but it will end. It's going to end. So continue to do things that you have to do, even if they're not optimal, and be preparing though, through your actions, to set yourself up for success on actually coming to China when everything is over with, or once we have the vaccinations out. But until then, yes, continue to do what you can and the best you can. But if you want a career involving China, I think most people know you're going to have to come to China at some point.
Okay, thank you. And I see a question from Megan that says, do you plan on adding any more virtual courses for summer programs? I'm actually going to put a link in the chat right now. If you want more information about like which courses that we offer, because we will offer a full online program. So if you want more information about what courses are offered or what types of programs are offered, I have a sort of form you can fill out, and we can get back to you with like whatever specific information you might want for either for yourself or for your students. So let me try to put that in the chat. And let's see. Okay, I'll work on it. Let you guys do the next question. So moving on, I would like to hear your opinions on why it is important for American students to continue to have an interest in study abroad in China, and why you think that connection between US and Chinese students is important. Andy, can you start us off, please?
Okay. Wait, was there two questions there, or was that? Why is it important to continue to have an intro? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that we've covered a lot of that already, but as I said, actually, maybe in the first or second question, we have to first ask ourselves, where is the world heading, right? What is the future? And we know that the rise of Asia, the continued rise of Asia, and China being a centerpiece, India will be one day also, but right now it is China. And so knowing that we're moving back to a bipolar world, of course, it used to be the United States and the USSR, and it is already, and it will continue to be, more of a United States and China world. Understanding how those two cultures operate, understanding how the people think and work together. You have to understand that communications between countries, especially the two most powerful countries in the world, really starts with individuals traveling and meeting and talking with each other, and then returning home to their families and telling them, oh boy, I really enjoyed this, I really enjoyed that, instead of, oh, I've never been to China, but I don't think great, or something like that. And a lot of people don't, but some people do. And I think anybody who comes to China is going to realize how kind and generous and fun the Chinese are. And I think it's going to help build relations at a grassroots level that eventually continues to grow up and up to a government level. And so I think it's very important that we continue to have not only American students come to China, but Chinese students go to America.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think when I went for the first time, it kind of changed my whole view of China. I really didn't know what to expect before, and it really kind of changes your whole world after that. Susie, do you want to go ahead and share?
Sure, I would just, echo what Andy said, and it's with the two most important, but the two largest economies, as well as political influence of the two countries. It's really important to have a clear understanding of China for American students, especially American students who don't. I mean, even in New Jersey, a lot of students, they don't leave. A lot of people in this state, you know, they're lucky to go to New York City. They don't really travel that much out of their area, as Andy mentioned at the very beginning of the hour. And so it might be something that's out of the box for them, but that's why it's even more important that they fully understand their place in the world, our place in the world as a country. And you can't miss by going to China, because you're gonna, you know, a student is going to get a more fully, they're going to get more fully understand their own place in the world, and they can't do that. You know, it's not like you're just going to go for a week, right? Most people are not going to just go on vacation to China for a week, right? As Andy said at the beginning, it's hard to travel later. It's hard to live abroad. And so it's really important to get these experiences in and not lose interest in China because of how much it's going to impact their future. I tell all my students, my tech students, whether they're business students, whether they are engineers, whether they're computer science majors, which is our largest major on campus. So, you know, you're going to be working with a multinational workforce. Even if you never leave this area, it's going to be multinational, it's going to be multicultural. You're in a tech field. It attracts the best and the brightest from around the world. Just look at your professors on campus. And so you look at who's in our graduate programs, not just on my campus, but across the country and across the world. And so because of that, yeah, you know, you need a clear understanding of China, and what better way to get that than to actually study abroad there.
Great, thank you. And then Sarah, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Stephanie. Yes. Yeah, I agree with both Susie and Andy what they mentioned just now. And for me, I would say for the students, personally, it would be very helpful for their professional development, their own professional development. And for the like worldly, there'll be mutual understanding of the Chinese younger generation and American younger generation, those people. So that would be also very helpful for the world as a whole. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm also just putting in the chat right now, if you want to get more information or want to send this to your students who want information, this is a form that you can fill out. So I just put that in the chat. And then last, we have just a couple minutes left. So if any of the three of you want to share, what does the future of study abroad in China look like to you, especially after COVID? What's changed, and what do you expect to see in the future for anyone who wants to volunteer?
Well, you know, the way that I view it, and there was a person in chat who mentioned a lot of people wanting to go to Europe. And listen, there's nothing wrong with Europe, but you know, more and more people are going to be coming to China. I mean, it's going to continue to grow, and so being able to do it now is kind of like being able to invest in a company when it's just very getting started. When you put this on your resume, you are going to look unique. You're going to stand out because so many people are concerned, not about going to China, but about going to Asia, because it's so different. But let me tell you something, if you can come to Asia, you will never be afraid to go to any other region of the world, because you know you have gone to the region that is the most different. Every other region is going to be a little more similar to the United States culture. This is about as far different as it gets. And so if you're able to do that, that's going to be really advantageous. And remember, it's only one flight, you know, I mean, you know, theoretically, you know, there are flights from Chengdu to New York. It's only one flight, right? So you get on a plane and you get off of it and you're in China. You get on a plane, you get off of it and you're back in New York. I really think that people will put themselves at a disadvantage if they do not study abroad and try to get internships, and in particular in China.
Okay, thank you very much. Sarah or Susie?
Hi, Stephanie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my picture from the future China study abroad, what a picture would like. Actually, I foresee probably a outbreak of study abroad, like more people might wanted to study abroad. Possibly if due to the quarantine too long time, or objectively speaking, I think people would love to go abroad and to see the world that they might miss for a period of time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think even just everybody saying like when this is over, I'm like the first thing I'm doing is traveling. And so I think especially for students, it'll be, you know, immediately like as soon as they can go study abroad, they will. And I think definitely there will be more and more students who want to go in general, and then specifically China, since it's growing in popularity so much. And Susie, do you have anything to finish us off?
I would just say that, yes, I believe the sort of the floodgates will open with interest in China. If nothing else, there'll be students who are like, you know, it all started in Wuhan, so let's go visit that country and figure it out. You know, my science students maybe. But I think in addition to that, in the meantime, what we're championing on our campus is virtual options. I sent 32 students interned virtually this past summer on a very quick pivot. And so we're expecting more students this summer, and whether it's also possible now for virtual study abroad. And so that's what we're doing to encourage students to stay interested in China and Asia in particular, as Andy mentioned. So I just want to thank you all. But yes, that's what we're doing at Stevens.
Okay, thank you. And I know people have other commitments and we're kind of wrapping up here, but just, does anyone have any last minute questions? You can turn your mic on or put them in the chat. This is kind of the last opportunity to do that. And if not, we do have the form that I put in the chat where you can enter your contact information to get more from us, or we have our email down at the bottom here, info@gmeo.com, if you have any direct questions for us. So I don't see any questions coming through. So with that, I'd like to thank our panelists so much for coming and sharing your thoughts. It was really, I think, valuable to hear all of your opinions, especially since you're all from the international education field, but you all come from different backgrounds. So it was really helpful and nice to hear all of your opinions. And I want to thank everybody for attending. We did record the session, so if you would like to share it with your students or anybody else, please again contact us, let us know. And just want to thank you all so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Have a good day,
Stephanie.
everybody.
Thank you, Susie.
Susan,
Thank you, Andy.
Susan, have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you all.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good day, Susie. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Stephanie. Bye, Andy.
Bye.